I am incredibly excited to get this going because we do this all the time. I mean, during the fantasy football season, I literally live stream for 4 hours every single night, going through and answering fantasy football questions. Now, it's a little bit different when we're going to be answering Dynasty questions, but I prefer Dynasty. And what's also great is y'all know I'm used to going through and live streaming Underdog drafts every single night leading up to the season. So I'm going to mix both of my favorite things on this planet, and I'm going to get some live drafts going so it's more entertaining in the background. And I'm going to be talking some Dynasty fantasy football, talking some strategy, going through and answering as many of your questions as I can. I've literally done about 5 of these drafts today. Now, you know, we talk about this all the time. Let me go through and pull this up. This should have already been set up. I apologize about that. But over there on Underdog Fantasy, they just launched their puppy draft. We've been going through and we've been drafting in Best Ball Mania, but this is what I recommend for people who are new to Underdog Fantasy to do, to go draft in the puppy, where it's going to be a $5 buy-in. And what happens is you draft in a 12-team league, and first place gets paid, second place gets paid, but on top of that, there's a small percentage of every league pot that actually gets set aside for the tournament at the very end of the season. And if you get first or second in your 12-team league, you get entered into that large field tournament for weeks 15, 16, and 17. And there on Best Ball Mania, it's like $2 million the first, $1 million the second, but you have a very low probability of getting it. Here, it's a $5 buy-in. The price are going to be a little bit lower because you're only going to be going up against 111,000 people. As crazy as that sounds, but you have 75,000 for first, 40,000 for second, and all the way down. So let's fire up a couple of these drafts. We're going to hop in this right now. These get filled quickly. Looks like there are about 6 spots available in this. But yeah, we are just going to be doing this in the background. Instead, we are going to be primarily focusing in on the questions that y'all are asking. So let me pull up the live chat right now and let's get this going. And please, if you have not done so, as I pull up this live chat, I see we already have 70 people out here. Thank y'all all for coming, but make sure you go down there and drop a like on the live stream if somehow you have not already. Okay, this is going to be exciting. Let me get a link out for anybody who wants to go and join our next draft, because I'm hoping that I can live stream for, a while tonight. I have nothing else to do other than write our draft guide, but that's hard work. This is fun. So I just want to go through and live stream this and answer as many questions as possible. So I just sent that link out there if you want to go and join our next draft. And I'm going to try to do a decent job of not talking about the draft. Okay. Now, please bear in mind that I'll be on the clock. I'll be having to go through and I'll be having to make selections. And yes, I'll probably be making small notes with them, but primarily I'm going to be focusing in on your Dynasty fantasy football questions in the chat. So let's go through and find our first question from Graylin. It says, Mason, why did my wife leave me? I am unsure why your wife left you. I will tell you that my girlfriend is right there and joining your wife, going for the door, leaving. I told her we would live stream every single day during the football season, but during the off season, we'd slow down, and we've live streamed every single day. So I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's going to be meeting up with your wife or ex-wife in the Bahamas, wherever it may be. Hope you can find out why she left, though, sometime soon. Okay, so Kyle says, I have the 202 and the 203 in a rookie draft. What are your top options? Because a lot of the rookie running backs are getting pushed up in the first round, whether that's Damian Pierce, whether that's Tyler Algier, whether that's Isaiah Spiller still, I think that in the beginning of the second round, you are going to have a decent chance to come away with Jahan Dotson and George Pickens. And I stand by the fact that I think this rookie class in particular is going to be really what we want to go for. We want to be going after wide receiver, and trying to avoid the running backs in that range. Okay. So Sinet says DeAndre Swift or Josh Jacobs this year. You're going to go with DeAndre Swift. You'll also see in this draft, and I really like showing all these underdog drafts, and I'm about to be on the clock. I will talk about this just for 1 second when we are going to be picking at the 109. Najee Harris goes off the board. We're going to go Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler has an ADP of essentially pick 7. It is what it is. I'm not too excited about it. Usually I'm not taking running back in this range, but I don't want to speak too much on this draft. We'll get to that in just 1 second. Let's go to our next Dynasty question. But Mike says, what non-rookie players would be worth the 103 straight up? That's way too broad of a question, my man. You're going to have to narrow that down. Okay, so Steven says, I have the 109 in Dynasty and trying to pick between Watson or Sky Moore. I would tell you that the majority of people in Dynasty Fantasy Football are going to prefer Sky Moore over Christian Watson. However, if I'm looking at both players, they graded out similarly in our wide receiver prospect model if we ignore the age for Christian Watson, because historically speaking, it has been a red flag to see a wide receiver coming out at such an old age. But you have to understand that there's a very specific reason that that happened. In the case of Christian Watson, you actually had COVID his junior. I freaking hate you. I should have known we were drafting next to flocking up my dad. I should have known that he was going to go through and he was going to take Mark Andrews from us. Oh my God. How dare you do that? Okay, so sorry to get off topic, but we'll go back to that draft. So yeah, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so between Christian Watson and Sky Moore. So if you're going and looking at Christian Watson in his junior season, he didn't get to play football till the spring. Like, he's the one person I'm giving the COVID pass to. So if you're looking at it in that light, they do grade out similarly in our wide receiver prospect model if we ignore that for Christian Watson. And if we're looking at the target competition, Sky Moore is going to be going up against Kelsey. Christian Watson legitimately has nobody. Christian Watson's biggest target threat outside of a running back is Allen Lazard. So I think both wide receivers are great prospects. Both of them have great landing spots. I am giving the slight edge, and I am saying the slightest of slight. It's almost a coin flip, but the coin's a little bit weighted. So instead of it being a pure 50-50, I'm giving it 51 Christian Watson, 49 Sky Moore. But most people would tell you Sky Moore. Okay, so now let's go through. And Jayan says, Texas playing a huge game versus TCU. My man, I have not seen the Texas game in quite a while. And Steven, I know our next question coming up from Robert says 10-team Superflex Deontay Johnson and a 2023 second or CeeDee Lamb. 10-team Superflex, don't overthink it. Take the stud, take CeeDee Lamb. I do really like Deontay Johnson, especially in the PPR format. But no, 10-team league, don't overthink the second round pick. Okay, so Andrew says, should I move off of DJ Moore? If you're looking historically, DJ Moore has been right at the very top of the NFL in his overall market share numbers for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, the issue is you've just had horrendous quarterback play, but that's actually baked into the price at this point for DJ Moore. So you can't necessarily say, oh, okay, yeah, well, with DJ Moore, I mean, his quarterback play is never going to get him there. We always have to... You can't necessarily say that because everybody knows that with DJ Moore. You're not trading away DJ Moore for someone who thinks that all of a sudden he's playing with Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's baked into the price. I think he is an elite level player. I think he was in a different offense. Like, let's say they went through the Green Bay Packers and traded that first round pick for DJ Moore instead of taking Christian Watson with their pick at the top of the second, trading up to get him. DJ Moore would be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. I'm personally going to hold on to the value in Dynasty, the talent in Dynasty. And really quick, if you have not done so already, please go down there and click the link in the description or in the live chat to join our next draft on Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You will also get our Dynasty rankings, our rookie rankings, our 2022 redraft rankings, and you will get our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, well over 130 pages. And you get the live streams with us in these drafts. You can also go draft with your friends. You can go draft in the public lobby, whatever you're trying to do. And let's see what happens. Come on. Give me an elite tight end. Let a tight end fall to us. And I will say I have an embarrassing amount of Jalen Waddle in these drafts just because I can't ever think of taking Michael Pittman here. But let's go through and try to find our next question. Our next question going to come out from Jeremy. Says, I'm a contender, but was offered to send my Najee Harris for J.K. Dobbins, a future second, and 2 future first. Is it worth possibly sacrificing this season to gain for the long term? Now, I will talk about a couple things here. I really like the idea of moving Najee Harris for a package like that overall. However, and I'm putting a massive asterisk on this, I hate that your league is trading 2025 first. There's no quicker way to just completely ruin a dynasty fantasy football league than allowing owners to trade 2025 picks. There's no reason for it. I know some people are saying, oh, well, the NFL can do it. Well, why can't we in dynasty? The difference is NFL owners are committed. NFL owners have billions of dollars in these organizations. What happens if all of a sudden a team gets ruined in your dynasty league and they just leave? They just bail. That can't happen in the NFL. And here I think that we are just going to go through and probably take we're going to take Mahomes. I obviously prefer getting Mahomes in this range if we are going to be looking at a Travis Kelce build, but I think time and time again, I've found that we really want to be getting an elite level tight end and an elite level quarterback if we can. Okay. So yeah, in your dynasty format, please don't be trading away 2025 picks. I wish your commissioner didn't even allow that. Okay, so Richard says, what are your thoughts on Josh Jacobs in Dynasty? Josh Jacobs like a month older than Najee Harris, and Josh Jacobs has consistently improved as a pass catcher through the first 2 years of his NFL career. I mean, it's wonderful, the development you've seen from Josh Jacobs as a pass-catching running back. However, the issue is going to be, I think, with Davante Adams coming over to Las Vegas, and you look at Davante Adams and the fact that he is a black hole, a legitimate black hole sucking everything up in the red zone for that team, I am going to be worried about Josh Jacobs and his carries inside the 5-yard line, because that is what has vaulted up Josh Jacobs historically to be a fantastic running back in fantasy, is based on that touchdown upside, based on that red zone usage. And if that transitions over a little bit more to Davante Adams, all of a sudden we may have a problem. We just may have a problem. And Ashton coming out, thank you so much, my dude, says 12-team Superflex. I have Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. Wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Treylon Burks. My running backs are Aaron Jones and Devin Singletary. What types of moves should I make? Have all my picks, by the way. Okay, so you're elite at quarterback. No worries whatsoever there. And at wide receiver, obviously, I would like to know a little bit more depth on the team. But if you have two players to build around in you have A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, and Treylon Burks. Okay, I didn't see Diggs. Okay, you're great at receiver. Running back 2, you're a little weak with Devin Singletary, but now is the worst time ever to go out there and trade for team need and to trade for running back 2. I would prefer to hold on to your 2023 picks. I mean, we've already been talking about, I don't know how long now, how good this class is overall. But more importantly, what we can do is if you have those 2023 picks, we are going to be able to go through and leverage them during the season to potentially go trade for our running back 2 then. Because what happens is all of a sudden, a team that thought that they were going to be competitive, a team that was looking at a roster of Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and then throw on someone like Keenan Allen. If you have a significant injury to Joe Mixon, he goes down for the year. Keenan Allen disappoints, and that team went from thinking that they were a contender to all of a sudden a rebuilder. You could go through and you can move that 2023 first for a Dalvin Cook level player straight up in week 3, week 4, week 5, when you know the hole that you have on your own roster, and you can look across the entire landscape and you can actually see what players are producing. I think a lot of people, when they just start playing Dynasty, they assume that those picks are going to have the least amount of value during the season. And that's an unfair assumption, because you are going to have teams that are all of a sudden forced to burn it down. And if you hold on to your picks and you're a buyer at the right moment, you can get some fantastic deals. So I honestly really like the idea of keeping that roster as is. Maybe if we can move like Treylon Burks for Jerry Jeudy plus a piece, because we have Russell Wilson and we just want to go through and get that stack, that could be intriguing. But outside of that, I really like that team. Okay, so now Zach coming out, and thank you, of course, Zach, for updating the ticker for us at the very bottom with the Underdog promo. Says, took over an orphan team, need to rebuild it, got offered a future second for Dawson Knox. Should I be considering this or wait till the season, try to get more? Yeah, there's no reason to take that deal now. I mean, if you could package Dawson Knox with a second-round pick and then go out of your way and get a future first, then sure, I'm willing to go and make that. No, don't make that trade. Do not be trading Dawson Knox for a future second. Okay, so Tyler says wide receivers to trade for, question mark. A very open-ended question. We legitimately make videos with trade targets, with players to sell all the time. I don't think we need to really dive into that. I would rather make a 20-minute video on that where we can have the time to dive into statistics behind the players as well. And Jaylen says, I have a win now team, but TJ Hawkinson is my tight end. Should I be aggressive and upgrade tight end or stay put? I have the 107 to try to trade away in a package with Hawkinson. Who should I target, if anyone? If you could, if we're living in a fairyland world and you can take TJ Hawkinson in the 107 and you can go trade him for Kyle Pitts, I'm doing it. And this is coming from someone, if y'all remember last year, if you would have asked me last year, Mason, should I take my late round 1 pick and package it with TJ Hawkinson for Kyle Pitts? I would have laughed at you. I would have pointed at you. I would have gone, oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot. But now, clearly, things have changed. Kyle Pitts goes out there, posts one of the best rookie tight end seasons of all time. The touchdown rate should come up this upcoming year. So I am 100% fine going out there and paying up to get a Kyle Pitts, paying up to get a Mark Andrews. Outside of that, no, I don't think you're going to package the 107 and TJ Hawkinson for Kittle. No, you're going to keep Hawkinson. Okay, Josh Jacobs goes at the 603. Okay, looking across the landscape, we don't have any stacks here for any of these quarterbacks. The issue is maybe Dobbins was just a bad pick overall. And we have Mahomes. What the hell am I talking about here? Okay, we just need to bring in another receiver. Gross. I understand it. Yeah, very bad pick. The wide receiver one happened. I do not like this team. Maybe we need to stop focusing on these questions. Maybe we need to start focusing on this team. It's probably the worst team I've drafted out of, I believe we've drafted 3 or 4 best ball manias and 2 or 3 puppies today. So we've drafted like 6 teams today. I think this is the worst. But QT coming out and says, okay, we are going to, I forgot. We have not done this in a while. I need to go through and set some parameters on the chat. We got to make sure that it's subscriber only. And we also got to make sure that people cannot spam as QT was, because the quickest way to get yourself muted is to be spammed. You can come out here. The rules of the live stream are simple. You are allowed to tell me I'm ugly. You're allowed to tell me I'm stupid. You're allowed to tell me I have no idea what I'm talking about, but you cannot spam the chat over and over and over again and ruin it for everybody else. You can come out here with your best weapons and you can try to ruin my day, but I don't want you ruining the day of anyone else in the chat. Okay. So Julian says, T. Higgins or Deebo Samuel, 1 year left before being competitive after the 2023 draft. If you're a year away, just go through, get T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins is going to be such a stable piece of that offense in Cincinnati. If you're looking at the market share numbers, you actually had T. Higgins on a per game basis, accounting for a higher percentage of this team's targets. And obviously, you're projecting Jamar Chase to be the wide receiver 1 there going forward. But I think because the offense is so concentrated between those 3 wide receivers, and they're not using a wide receiver 4, they're not using a wide receiver 5, T. Higgins has a unique floor and ceiling combination that I think you can't really go wrong with Higgins. Now, Names Elite coming out. Thank you, my man. Says, I traded Breece Hall. Okay, I never like to see those 4 words strung together. To see someone says, I traded Breece Hall. It pains me, but let's figure it out what for. And Amari Cooper for Aaron. Okay, this is a good trade. For Aaron Jones, 2 2023 first and a 2024 first. I have a very good team with Jonathan Taylor, Chase, Kupp, and Diggs. Fantastic trade, because if we're going through and breaking this down, I would prefer Aaron Jones in a vacuum over Amari Cooper. Both win now assets. However, Aaron Jones playing at a position where it's going to be harder to come by. And on top of this, we are going to be looking at Amari Cooper as someone that doesn't have access to the same level of upside that you would see from an Aaron Jones. So give me Aaron Jones over Cooper. And if we're looking at Breece Hall, y'all know I love. The second we had the NFL draft, whenever you're looking at DLF ADP, it was like the running back 21 in Dynasty. I came out the second, not the draft, the combine. The second we had the combine, I made a video saying he was the top 5 running back in Dynasty. Like, I love me some Breece Hall. But if we can go through and we can trade him for 3 future first round picks right now without having to see anything, hell yeah, we're doing that. Okay, so Sean coming out says, would you do Mac Jones and 2 2023 first for Justin Herbert in the Superflex format? Yes, I would go out there and pay up for Justin Herbert. The issue with Mac Jones is he simply doesn't have access to the upside to be a league-breaking quarterback. It sucks to say, but because he has absolutely no rushing upside whatsoever, I think that you would prefer the cornerstone asset in Justin Herbert. So go ahead, go get Justin Herbert. Trade the 2 future firsts as well. Okay, so Gagan says, I traded CeeDee Lamb, Kirk Cousins, and Isaiah Spiller for Dalvin Cook and Kenneth Walker. Okay, so here, I am not a big fan of this. Assuming it's a Superflex format, if it's a 1 quarterback league, Cousins has no value, Isaiah Spiller has no value, sure, yeah, go trade CeeDee Lamb for Dalvin Cook and Kenneth Walker. But in a Superflex format, I am personally probably going to be holding on to the CeeDee Lamb and Kirk Cousins side unless it's a 10-team league where we'd have to adjust the quarterback value down just slightly in a 10-team format. I mean, you are not going to hold nearly as much value for a player like Kirk Cousins. Okay, so let's go through. Let's slide this up. Ayuk goes at the 705. I don't want to have to do it, but I know what we're going to have to do. And I can't say anything. I can't say anything at this moment. There are people in this draft that are obviously watching the live stream. Adam Thielen goes to the 707. Ace Viper on the clock. Okay, they went Kyler at quarterback, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, RB, wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, and tight end Kyle Pitts. Oh, I would have loved this draft. I mean, I would be in a happy place if we had Kyle Pitts making it back to us in the 3rd. We are going to go ahead. We're going to get Sky Moore. He is the thumbnail of this live stream, so that's probably a pretty good sign. But B, most importantly, in this format, you cannot get stuck behind the wide receiver position. We took Patrick Mahomes as well in the 4th round. If we're taking Mahomes in the 4th round and we did not take Kelsey, you need to make sure that you're going out of your way and you're getting Sky Moore, you're getting Marquez Valdez-Scantling later on. We're not reaching too bad on ADP. His ADP is 82. We're grabbing him here at 81, but his ADP is there because every Patrick Mahomes team's taking him, so it's not like it's too unique. Okay, so now let's go through. Find another question in the chat. Brandon says, I am picking at the 204 in a 10-team league, and I can't decide between David Bell or one of the top running backs. Okay, so I'm assuming the running backs that you'd be looking at in that range would be a Dameon Pierce, would be an Isaiah Spiller, maybe a Rashad White. Personally, in a 10-team league, I'm going to be more willing to tell you to just go with one of the running backs. Now, I think David Bell in a 12-team format in a regular league, it's going to be easier to say go with David Bell. I think he has a significantly higher floor. I think he is a great prospect that's going to be in a great situation specifically next year. I actually talk about this in a video that comes out tomorrow, but let me pull this up. Brady, yeah, is a fantastic value according to ADP. Can't go Brady here. And honestly, we kind of need a tight end, but it is what it is. We're just going to go running back. We're going to take the best player available. Following 10 picks in his ADP, our running back 3, we have Mahomes, quarterback, wide receiver Debo, Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore, and Sky Moore. Running back, Austin Eckler, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders. A horrible team. A straight-up horrible team. Okay. But yeah, in a 10-team format, I'm going to be a lot more willing to go with the running backs because they have access to higher ceiling, whereas you're not necessarily going to get that with David Bell. But David Bell has access to a higher floor, which is why if we're playing in a standard 12-team format, I probably would prefer David Bell. Dylan coming out. Thank you so much, my man. Says, looking to buy Justin Jefferson, would you give up T. Higgins, a future first and a second, and Jimmy Garoppolo? I would honestly try to keep the second and Jimmy Garoppolo here. I really don't like the idea of taking our wide receivers, packaging up a future first, and then going to get another wide receiver that's maybe in a higher tier. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd love to bring Justin Jefferson on my roster, but you're giving up so much flexibility and so much firepower for moves that you can make during the season by trading away that 2023 first-round pick right now. Now, if it was a 1 quarterback format where you're not going to have Bryce Young, you're not going to have CJ Stroud pushing value further down the rookie draft boards, then sure, maybe I'd consider it, especially in a 1 quarterback league. Jimmy Garoppolo is almost someone that you can just straight up cut. But if it's going to be a 12-team Superflex format, it's very hard for me to ever really go trade T. Higgins, 2023 first, 2022 second, 2023 second, I apologize, and Jimmy Garoppolo, just because from a roster construction standpoint, it will limit you later on. I hope that answer was okay. I know that it's tantalizing. You're probably sitting there drooling at the mouth to go out there and get Justin Jefferson. I personally probably wouldn't, though. And Knowledge God coming out says 12-team Superflex need running backs, but only have a second and 2 third-round picks. I have Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary, and James Conner. What do I do? Also, I need a wide receiver. First off, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my man. Second off, I'm sorry for this crappy answer. It's May 26th. You don't need any position. You are not going through and submitting a starting lineup for God knows how long. Legitimately, like over 100 days, you are not going to hit submit on that starting lineup. So no, you don't know if you need a running back right now. You have Josh Jacobs, who has upside to be a low-end running back 1. You have James Conner, who has running back 1 upside. You have Devin Singletary, who at the end of last year, through the last 5 weeks, averaged over a touchdown a game. So no, you don't know if you need running backs. Keep your picks. Keep your picks right now. That way, once we get to the season, and hell, if all of a sudden James Conner goes down and James Cook is the starting running back in Buffalo, then you can say, yeah, I do need running backs. And then you can go through and use those picks and trade for someone that's actually being productive from a team that thought they were going to be competitive and ends up failing. Now, I know maybe that's a little nerve-wracking, please keep your picks, because as soon as you trade those picks, you have no leverage in trades once we actually get to the season. And real quick, we just passed 100 likes in the live stream. Thank you so much for everybody who went down there and dropped a like on the stream. I really do appreciate it. And let's find our next question. Buck says, how do you value wide receivers in a start 3 wide receiver league versus start 2? Assuming that you only have 2 flex spots, I think that in a start 2 wide receiver league, you ignore the position. Like it could not matter less. So maybe it's a boring answer. I get it. It's not an exciting thing for me to say, but in a league where you start 2 wide receivers and potentially only have up to 2 flexes, like, there's no real reason to draft them early or draft them late or draft them at all. We're going to go Kareem Hunt. We can't go Kareem Hunt. We're going to go Dawson Knox. Get him in. Okay, yeah, we're going to go Dawson Knox, with the hope that we can find a tight end later on like Cole Kmet, where if we draft 2 of these guys, we'll be done. Because I really want to make sure that we are able to draft 8 wide. We can actually probably get up to 9 wide receivers with this build. We may be able to get up to 9 wide receivers because we're going to be able to stop at 2 quarterbacks since we took Mahomes. That's why we took Mahomes, so we only have to draft 2. And then at tight end, when we take Dawson Knox here, I think if we can get a respectable tight end, not with our next pick at the 10:04, but potentially whenever we're selecting at the 11:09, which there will be tight ends in that range, then we can draft 2 tight ends. We took Eckler, Dobbins, Miles Sanders relatively early, so I think we can stop at 5 running backs. So that should give us the flexibility to have 9 wide receivers on this roster, which hopefully can save this team. Okay, so now let's go. Marker Word says he made it out to the stream. Happy to see you out here, my man. And Ashton says 12-team Superflex, Joe Mixon or Allen Robinson, and a future first-round pick. I really do think that's going to come down to your actual team. If you're looking at Allen Robinson, a player that clearly you're never going to be able to trade him himself for a 2023 first. If you could, you would have done that yesterday. But if we're looking at Joe Mixon versus that 2023 pick, with Joe Mixon, has more value to a contender. However, if you're a pure rebuilding roster, it probably would make sense for you to go through and for you to take the Allen Robinson and 2023 first side with the understanding that you could potentially leverage Allen Robinson and a future second into a first round pick down the line. I hate doing this. Y'all know I am always the person to go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. But this draft room has been even crazier than I have. I can't take Rondale Moore over Kareem Hunt. I will never do that. So we are going to go Kareem Hunt here as our running back 4. It's a gross build. It's a gross build where we have, oh my God, we have 4 running backs and 4 receivers. You never want to be in that position on Underdog Fantasy. You always want to be ahead of the curve at the wide receiver position. But it's what the draft room did to us. We're drafting 9 of these guys. We got quality running backs where we don't have to take a 6th. We got an elite level tight end. Hopefully we'll have 2 capable tight ends with Dawson Knox and hopefully a player like Cole Kmet or Irv Smith Jr., whoever it may be. We'll figure it out down the line. Okay, so Dylan coming out says, sometimes it's good to get in drafts without the flock. Too many smart drafters Had a guy take Kelsey at the 104 and Gabriel Davis at the 304. I got Mahomes in the 5th. I've said this before, and I know it sounds like I'm lying. I am in these drafts every single day, all day. I literally almost every single night someone comes out and tells me, oh, Mason, I saw you in the draft this morning at around 8 a.m. Yeah, the reason I'm in these drafts, mainly outside the live stream, because I don't like drafting with y'all either. Like, if it was up to me, I would not tell y'all when I was getting in here, because I feel like the majority of other drafts I get in, you have an auto drafter. You have people not taking wide receivers early enough. And wherever I'm drafting with y'all are having Kareem Hunt fall to the 10th round, which, hell, I'll take it. I'll draft him there, but I'm not used to going with that roster construction just because the drafts look so different. Okay. So SBP Sports says, should I sell Javonte Williams and Jalen Waddle in a 12-team Superflex Dynasty with 3 wide receiver slots and 1 flex? My running back 2 is Josh Jacobs in solid depth, and my wide receiver 4 is Adam Thielen with good enough depth, and my team is super young but good. So should you sell Javonte and Waddle? I personally wouldn't. Like, unless you're going to be getting an absurd return. If you can go and sell Javonte Williams for Breece Hall plus a future second or something, sure. If you can go sell Jalen Waddle, like, I'll trade Jalen Waddle today for T. Higgins. I've been saying that all offseason. Like, yeah, I'll go through and make that trade. But I think that a lot of people are getting on to the fact that you do need to devalue Jalen Waddle just slightly, even though I'm drafting him all the time on Underdog because friggin' Michael Pittman's going over him here. And Zach says, can I send the link to the Flock Community to Superflex Dynasty League? Okay, I will do this. Do not send it in the live chat because there are just a bunch of random people in the live chat. I will send out the link to our locals community. So if y'all don't know, there are startup drafts posted almost every day in our locals community. If not a startup, then at least a dispersal. And for those to join, it's free. It's legitimately free. There's some stuff behind the paywall, like if you want to have access to the rankings, yada, yada, yada. Yes, that's going to be behind the paywall. But if you want to go through and to get into a Flock League, I am not going to be in it. I'm not hosting it. Zach is hosting it. We have a lot of other Flock Leagues that I do host, but I have too much on my plate right now. You can find that over there on locals. I'll send the link out. It's always in the description. I'm sure most people know about this by now. But Brendan says, Rashad White, Isaiah Spiller, or Dameon Pierce for the long term. If we're talking about long term, I probably do prefer just going with either Rashad White or Isaiah Spiller. I will say I've taken Dameon Pierce a lot in these drafts, specifically with 0 running back builds, because if I'm going through and if I'm looking at Dameon Pierce, obviously he has the clearest path to step into opportunity year 1, but still Rashad White, Isaiah Spiller, they, in my opinion, look like dramatically better running backs playing in better offenses as well. The depth chart's just a little bit clogged up. Okay. So Gronk goes here. So we are going to get our second tight end. Let me just double check with the buys. Yeah, so I think we can take Gesicki to pair up with Dawson Knox. While, yes, we desperately need wide receivers here. The wide receivers here I don't think are that good. And if we take Gesicki, we're done drafting tight ends. And we can grab an extra wide receiver and we can take advantage of the best ball scoring with the spike weeks. And Mitch says, traded pick 3, 6, and 9 for Jonathan Taylor. What are your thoughts? So you essentially went through and you traded away Treylon Burks, you traded away Kenny Pickett, and you traded away Jameson Williams. Or maybe Jameson Williams isn't falling to 9. Maybe Chris Olave is falling there. So would you rather have Burks, Kenny Pickett, Chris Olave, or Jonathan Taylor? I probably would prefer Jonathan Taylor. Now, if it was a 12-team Superflex format where you start 11 or more players, there I think the package becomes more appealing based on the format requiring you to have depth in a well-rounded roster. However, if it's instead going to be a 10-team league, if it's going to be a 12-team league where you only start up to 9 players, then I think you just take the stud. You just go through and grab Jonathan Taylor. Okay. So our next question says, Ryan says, Jonathan Taylor or Breece Hall in 2 late 2023 first. I'm going to repeat this. I know we have said this before. Please, when y'all ask me questions about 2023 first, and I'm not just doing this for my own sake, I'm trying to do this for your sake as well. Please do not be classifying the picks as late, early, or mid, unless it is so obvious where this team is 100% tanking. This team is actively trying to earn the 101. Or this team is the best team in the league. They have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, Steph. Unless it is so obvious, just call him 2023 first. Let's not be putting labels on him. And if we're looking at it that way, am I going to prefer Breece Hall in 2023 first, or Jonathan Taylor? Give me Hall in 2023 first. And I'm honestly not really thinking about it. So here, we honestly did this on purpose. We took Gesicki here because we knew we had Jalen Waddle and we could get the double stack with Tua Tagovailoa. We are dead at the wide receiver position. We are buried right now at wide receiver in this draft. But with best ball, it does really come down to your roster construction. We have decent receivers at the top. We have Debo. We have Waddle. We have Elijah Moore. We have Sky Moore. But we should have good tight end play, elite quarterback play, elite running back play, and we're going to draft 9 wide receivers. Literally, we're going receiver after this, and then going to grab 1 running back near the end. Okay. Gavin says, trade Devonta Smith and Christian Watson for Tyreek Hill. If you're a contending roster, yeah, I'd go get Tyreek Hill. I am concerned, obviously, with the quarterback play from Tua Tagovailoa, as I take him here in the 12th round in this best ball league. But yes, I would make that. And Dylan says, if it's a 12-team Superflex league, would you say Bijan Robinson would go over the quarterbacks as the 101 next year? Honestly, in my opinion, it's going to be too early to tell. I mean, if you go back and think about how we were viewing the draft class of 2020 back in 2021, everybody thought Sam Howell was going to be the first quarterback. Everybody thought Sam Howell was going to be essentially the 101 in drafts. Things change. CJ Stroud now no longer has Garrett Wilson, no longer has Chris Olave. I'm not expecting him to turn into Sam Howell. I'm expecting him to be a top 5 NFL draft pick. I think it's likely that he is, but it's too early for me to tell with confidence who you should be taking in 12-team Superflex format. We actually have a mock draft coming out soon where I will say we took Bijan Robinson at the 101. Okay. Brian says, how do you feel about Rashad Bateman as a wide receiver 2 and Mark Andrews as a stack on the same fantasy team? Yeah, I'm completely fine double stacking both pass catchers there. I mean, if you're looking at the offense, the volume's not going to be there, but the passing efficiency should be with Lamar, so I'm completely fine with that. And Kevin says, Dynasty Superflex sent Drew Lock, Elijah Mitchell, the 112, which was Desmond Ridder. Horrible pick, by the way. Horrible pick. 2024 second received Keenan Allen, the 210, Trey McBride, 2 future seconds, and a 2023 third. Yeah, obviously you do this. Drew Lock has no value whatsoever. So you essentially traded Elijah Mitchell for Keenan Allen. Give me Keenan Allen. Traded Desmond Ridder for Trey McBride, a future second and a third. Yes, make that trade. 100%. Kenny says, Monty owner, do I trade Gabriel Davis for Keel Herbert and KJ Osborne? No, that would be horrendous. Please do not do that. Do not go out of your way and overpay for a handcuff. And it looks like we're taking another running back. God. We will see. We will see. Richard says, in a non-tight end premium dynasty league, is it still smart to trade for Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews? I have Darren Waller and Pat Freiermuth. Obviously, it's going to depend on the actual deal. Like if you can go through and if you can package something with, like if you could package Darren Waller and Pat Freiermuth together and you could somehow get to Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews, hell yeah, we're doing that. Okay, Brandon says, what would you do with the loaded starting 10 but no depth or 2023 picks? Stand, put, or downgrade a Mahomes or CMC for depth? Obviously, if we're living in a perfect world, yeah, you're going through and you're downgrading and you're picking up some depth, but it's very hard for me to go through and tell you that before we can see what's on the table. Like, I'm not going to go through and trade away Christian McCaffrey for Michael Carter and David Montgomery. No, we're not doing that. But if you could go through and if you could trade away Christian McCaffrey and you can pick up Aaron Jones in a future first, yes, we're going to make a trade like that. Okay, so now Cole says 12-team, 1 quarterback league, Justin Jefferson or Breece Hall in a 2023 first. 1 quarterback format, I'm going to devalue the first round pick just slightly. We're just going to take the cornerstone asset with Justin Jefferson. I don't want to act like it's a landslide. I know a lot of people in the chat probably think it's a landslide for the Justin Jefferson side. In a 1 quarterback format, those picks are just going to be worth a little bit less. Okay, so yeah, these tight ends coming off the board. That's good for us because we're done drafting tight end. We're done drafting tight end. It's not exciting. We wanted to get an elite level option, but We're going to try to stick it at 2 when we grab these 2 players. Okay, so our next question coming out from Sam says, what would Josh Allen's Superflex value be in a 12-team league, as in what should I look to get in return for? You should look to get in return the startup pick 101 equivalent value. You should look to get in return about 3.5 future first-round picks. It's very hard for me to answer super broad questions like that, my man. Okay, so let's go through. Let's just continue to take wide receivers here. Very boring. From here on out, we're just receiver, 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 receiver. And hopefully we can just platoon some players through in the best ball format that can get us there and have access to some upside in week 17. Usually we're drafting wide receivers earlier than this, but hell, this is what y'all do to me. This is what y'all do. Okay. So Zach says a double stack. Okay, let's check out Zach's draft real quick. I think we are waiting on some more questions come in, so we can look at this draft just slightly. He goes, Dalvin Mixon, Akers at running back, Rashad White, James Robinson, running back 4, running back 5. It pains me to say this. I wish Zach would continue to take RBs because we don't really need any more and we need wide receiver value to fall, but I'm assuming he's done at running back with a great core like that. Deontay, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney. Okay, so yeah, he has the combination of Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup with Dak Prescott. That's really exciting. And he has Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields, Cole Kmet. Yeah, that's a great team. That's a great team overall. Okay, so let's pull this up. And let's go. Henry says, do you have to upload rankings in Underdog to draft? I tried to draft and it said I needed to upload rankings. I've never seen that before on sites. My man, no, you do not. Please reach out to Underdog support. If you sign up for Underdog and you have any issues whatsoever, please reach out to Underdog support. They answer you immediately and fix the situation immediately. Do not overthink it. Just DM them on Twitter, DM them on the app, whatever you need to do. Okay, so Henry says, how do you sort by ADP on Underdog? Is it even possible? It's already sorted for you, my man. Zed says, would you try and trade 2 projected late 2023 first for a likely early first? This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. This is what I'm telling you to avoid doing. What were we saying? We were saying, do not come out here and project those first round picks out. There is so much uncertainty. Not only is there uncertainty in the actual season, in the actual year, there's so much variance, but on top of that, it's May. Dynasty teams, they can go through and they can make trades. They can make their teams better or worse. And on top of this, we don't know what injuries we're going to see. Last year, you had Akers, Dobbins, and Travis Etienne all going down. I had multiple teams with the combination of Cam Akers, Travis Etienne. So never, ever say, I have 2 late 2023 first here. I think this team's worse than me. I'm going to take my 2 2023 first. I'm going to trade him for his probably early 20. No, please do not do that. Please do not do that. Okay. So let me slide this down. You're ready to make a pick here. And dear God. Okay, so our next question coming out from Matt says, trade the 102 and Tua Tagovailoa for Trey Lance in a Superflex 10-team format. So the 102 is going to be Drake London. I honestly think you probably have to hold on to the 102. And just in that, I know from experience, you're going to be able to get more for Tua Tagovailoa in trade than that actual package itself. So no, I'm not doing that. I would instead probably just look for a better deal with Tua. Okay. So Sam says, do I take Treylon Burks and Drake London at the 103, 104? Hell yes. I'm assuming Kenneth Walker went at the 102. I personally have Drake London ranked as the 102, and I have Treylon Burks ranked as the 103. Right after the NFL draft, I actually had Garrett Wilson ranked as the 103 because I was reluctant to immediately move the rankings due to the situation they found themselves in. But after looking historically at what we have had from Zach Wilson and how I'm afraid of what this offense is going to be, yeah, I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to cash out, and I'm going to instead take Treylon Burks over Garrett Wilson. Okay. So Brandon says, AJ Brown or Chris Olave in a 2023 first. Win now team, but I have no future first round picks. Okay, I think this is a very interesting question here. If it's going to be a super flex league, I honestly probably go Chris Olave in a 2023 first. Clearly, AJ Brown is way better. I mean, A.J. Brown has more talent in his left pinky toenail than Chris Olave has in his entire body. This is coming from someone who likes Chris Olave, but A.J. Brown's an elite level wide receiver. The issue is the Philadelphia Eagles want to run the ball. Now, they're going to be more pass happy. They are going to be more pass happy this upcoming season, but they were a bottom 3 team in their pass to run ratio last season. They want to run the ball over and over again. Jalen Hurts in a lot of games isn't getting to 200 passing yards. It's very hard to go through, and it's very hard to assume that A.J. Brown all of a sudden, because keep in mind, he's coming from a run-heavy team as is, but who's his target competition there? Nobody. Now it's Devontae Smith. Now it's Dallas Goedert. There's some serious target competition. I'm probably out on A.J. Brown at that price. So SBP Sports says, I wonder how Treylon Burks fell from the unanimous 101 to barely top 5. Of course, Brees had an elite combine and became better. That's obvious. And I agree, but Burks didn't have that bad of a combine. It wasn't necessarily about the combine. I think it was more so just diving into the overall route tree that you had from Treylon Burks. You actually kind of saw that from an NFL perspective as well. Okay, so now we are on the clock. Our wide receiver core, we have Sky Moore, Jalen Tolbert, Odell Beckham Jr. So we do have a lot of production that we're probably not going to get anything from at the beginning of the season. That's going to make me more reluctant to take a John Mechie, to take a Wan'Dale Robinson. So instead, we're going to take A.J. Green and try to overlap some of that production at the beginning of the year. Keep in mind, we're just trying to stay afloat at the wide receiver position. I mean, we have an elite running back core with Eckler, with Dobbins, with Miles Sanders, with Kareem Hunt. We have an elite quarterback with Mahomes. We have okay tight ends. We have a bad team overall. I promise you, the next team that we are going to have will be better. And real quick, like I always say, if you want to have some fun in your life, this draft wasn't as fun as our other ones. You'll see a more fun one in just a second. But if you want to have some fun in your life, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You will get our Dynasty rankings. You will get our 2022 rookie rankings. You will get our 2022 redraft rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rookie draft guide, over 130 pages. We live stream these every single day. Every day I stream these. You can get in a draft with us, or you can get in a draft with your friends in the public lobby. Go use promo code FLOCK. It supports the channel. Not even close. Okay, so let me go through and find our next question. Okay, so our next one coming out from Keel Max is Mike Williams or DJ Moore. I'm going DJ Moore quite easily. Yes, Mike Williams has the elite level quarterback play, but with DJ Moore, this is a wide receiver that if you're looking at the last 3 seasons from a target share perspective in that Carolina Panthers offense, really, it's like right up there with Davante Adams level. It's absurd with what you actually have from DJ Moore. One day, I don't know when it's going to be, but one day we are going to get above average quarterback play for DJ Moore. Just please, Carolina, go out, trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Save DJ Moore. And on top of that, unlock our guy, Trey Lance. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. Okay. Henry says, I wish I had known about your promo when I signed up 2 weeks ago on Underdog. My man, just reach out to him, say, hey, I signed up with the wrong promo. I was supposed to use promo code FLOCK. Come on. And SBP Sports says, Kyler to Carolina in 2023. I would be very surprised when they're going out there and when they're trading for Hollywood Brown, presumably to pay Hollywood Brown. They're going to pay Kyler Murray. I know that there was some controversy there was some drama with Kyler Murray at the beginning of the season. But it's just about those players wanting to get paid. It's just about them wanting to get those extensions. It will be sorted out. Zach says, are we doing another draft tonight? Yes, sir. We're doing another draft. That's why I was just telling people to go sign up and use promo code FLOCK. And real quick, we just passed more likes on the live stream than live viewers. Ridiculous. So that tells me y'all really enjoy these Q&A type live streams. We'll get more of these going in the future. Let me know what time works best for y'all if y'all want to hop into these drafts with us and for us to do these Q&As as well. Dylan says, may have just drafted the winning puppy team. I would switch back to Best Ball Mania. Yeah, I am happy they released the puppy because now I'm not going to feel bad at the gym about drafting all day because I can save my Best Ball Mania entries. We can save some of them, which is good. Richard says, I feel like Christian Watson is being underrated. Is it just me? No, I'm there with you. I mean, with Christian Watson, I honestly think that he went from somehow being overrated before the NFL draft, before we knew the landing spot. And then once he got the landing spot, nobody moved his value up further. Like, maybe they moved him up one or two. I think if you're looking historically, in Green Bay, they're one of the most efficient passing offenses in the entire NFL. I love me some Christian Watson. Okay, so what sucks is we have Mahomes. We can't take one of these quarterbacks, even though these quarterbacks are fantastic values. If we're going to be looking at the running back position, I am probably taking a little bit of a homer pick here. We have done this time and time again. One of my most drafted players this year is going to be D'Onta Foreman, but I say this all the time. If you are that confident that Christian McCaffrey is going to get injured this season, you better believe D'Onta Foreman will be the best value in Dynasty, best value in best ball, best value in redraft this season, okay? He's getting paid $2 million by the Carolina Panthers. That contract, when they go out there and sign him, plus what we saw last year when he took over for an injured Derrick Henry, shows he is the guy to own. It's not Chuba Hubbard. It's D'Onta Foreman. I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey is guaranteed to get injured, but what I would say is if Christian McCaffrey wasn't likely to get injured, he would be the unanimous 101. So the market's baking in injury risk when it comes to McCaffrey sliding behind Jonathan Taylor, sliding behind Cooper Kupp, which I think probably should happen. But getting D'Onta Foreman here is a no-brainer. Running back 5. And we're just going to go through, and we're probably going to take another homer pick if he is available. No, our guy, Devin Duvernay, is gone. I don't know if Jalen's out in the chat right now. And because we are on the Dynasty channel, just because we're on the Dynasty channel, I don't know if I've drafted him a single time elsewhere. I will go through and take someone we loved before the NFL draft. Loved him before the draft. He outproduced T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow. He had almost double the receiving yards on a per game basis when he was 18 years old at Clemson than Hunter Renfrow in that same offense that same year when he was a senior. We'll go Justin Ross here. We'll throw everyone a bone. Even though I will say, okay, no, Justin Ross is gone. Now, let me speak on Justin Ross just for a little bit because I assume that we were going to get a decent inflow of questions regarding Justin Ross. While, yes, he has had an absurd amount of training camp hype, he has made some highlight catches. Mahomes has also come out and spoken positively of Justin Ross. He is still not guaranteed to make the roster. It is still a very high probability that he either is cut or he is sent to the practice squad. The reason for this is if you're going to be a wide receiver 4, if you're going to be a wide receiver 5 on an NFL offense, what you need to have is you need to have special teams ability. And Justin Ross, because he has been such a good wide receiver throughout his entire football career, whether it's high school, college, regardless of what it is, he's never played on special teams, which is not, it does not bode well for his odds to make the roster. And he was an undrafted free agent. The majority of undrafted free agents don't make the roster. Okay, so I'm going to go through and hop into another draft real quick, and we will get right back to answering these questions. If you want to go get in a draft with us, just go enter the puppy. This is the $5 entry. And like I said, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, this is what I'd recommend getting in. Okay, but yeah, we're full. We're full. And honestly, I'm happy. I'm happy not that many of y'all got in here, so I don't have to draft against you. Okay, for I'm going to be completely honest. We're drafting to the 102 as well. We can mix it up at the 102. We can mix it up here. Okay, so Dylan says A.J. Brown or Terry McLaurin in Dynasty. In Dynasty, I'm going to prefer A.J. Brown. Both don't have great quarterback play. A.J. Brown's a significantly better wide receiver. I mean, Terry McLaurin's someone we've been screaming to sell high over the past 3 years. This is an option that, yes, was a monster his rookie season. He was also a 23-year-old rookie. He was great his second year if you're going to look at the percentage of the offense that he accounted for. But you got to keep in mind with Terry McLaurin, he has never had target competition. The best receiving option Terry McLaurin has ever played alongside is Logan Thomas, a 30-year-old tight end convert, former quarterback. That's the best target competition Terry McLaurin has ever seen in the NFL. Now you're getting Jahan Dotson added in. You still have a very bad passing offense overall. So yeah, we're taking AJ Brown over him almost every single time. Kit Kat says, can you show the full draft? I'm sorry, we did not, my man. I'm trying to focus in on the questions here. You know, I love drafting. So, I mean, my focus is a little bit on the draft, but I'll try to get better about balancing the two. I'm used to just drafting or just answering questions, not both. Okay. So Henry says, I just tried to join, and this is what it said. You must build rankings before you can enter a contest in Ohio. CI. What you maybe did is maybe you cleared out the ADP in the rankings tab at the very end. What I would do is I would reach out to Underdog Fantasy to get that sorted out. I've never heard of that, my man. Okay, so Nicholas says, 10-team Superflex, start 10, looking to compete. My wideouts are AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Deontay Johnson, Hollywood Brown, Tyler Boyd, Rondale Moore, and David Bell. Okay, so if we're breaking this down, I think we probably... Ooh, this is interesting. If we were going to be looking to move someone from a contending roster on this, I wouldn't be able to find a name. I mean, if we can move AJ Brown for T. Higgins, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. I mean, we've been saying that all along, so I'm assuming that you probably already tried to move AJ Brown for T. Higgins. If we could move Tyreek Hill for Stephon Diggs, we're doing that in a heartbeat, but I'm sure you've already tried that as well. So I think you're probably just standing still. And Jake says, what do you think the dynasty ceiling is of Christian Kirk? Can he be a wide receiver 3? The issue is, and I hate to say this because it is very dumb what the dynasty community does, but when you're on that second contract at the wide receiver position, like with Christian Kirk, we can all be realistic here. He could easily be a top 24 wide receiver this upcoming season. Let's just go through the range of outcomes. Let's say Christian Kirk is a top 24 wide receiver. Christian Kirk comes out and is clearly the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville as he's being paid for, and Trevor Lawrence takes a step forward. Now, where is he being drafted next year in dynasty drafts? Because all of a sudden, Christian Kirk's going to be going into year 2 of his second deal, and he's already had a stink around him in what I would say. Right now, he's being drafted as a wide receiver 5 in dynasty. Let me go through and pull up where he's going on Keep Trade Cut. I would say that I don't think Christian Kirk could ever really get to being a top 24 wide receiver in dynasty startup drafts at this point of his career. Because even if he is a top 24 player on points per game this upcoming season, I am unsure that's going to be enough to get him there. Yeah, right now, Christian Kirk's the wide receiver 50. So we call that a wide receiver 5 in dynasty. So no, I don't think he has wide receiver 2 upside in dynasty. He could be a wide receiver 2 this year in points per game, but there's a difference there. Okay, so let's pull this up. And Dylan says, got to head out for the night. See you guys later. No, thank you, my man, for coming out. And Emig Gould coming out says AJ Brown for Kenneth Walker and Terry McLaurin. There is where we can have a conversation. I'm not taking Terry McLaurin over some of those other options, but if we're getting Kenneth Walker added in, here's what I would do. If we could line up the potential to sell either Terry McLaurin or Kenneth Walker for a 2023 first-round Superflex pick, yes, I'm doing it. But we're going through and we're making that trade. So yes. And Kit Kat Kid says, in Dynasty, should I trade Cooper Kupp for Saquon Barkley, Chris Olave, and Darren Waller? Okay. I actually may do that. Now, if you're in a 10-team league, no, keep Barkley. Keep the stud. If we're in a 12-team league where we start 10 or more, you're potentially bringing in a running back 1. You're potentially bringing in a top 24 wide receiver on a dynasty perspective and potentially level tight end. I hate to trade $1 for 4 quarters. Like I really am not trying to do that in dynasty unless it's dynasty best ball, unless it's dynasty 12 team start 11 plus. But I think that's probably about the right price. Okay, so this sucks. We're just going to go through and we are going to do what we usually do on the turn. We are going to reach for a wide receiver. Let's go ahead and let's take AJ Brown at the 211. And if you're unfamiliar with Dynasty, of course I would never do this if you're unfamiliar with Underdog, of course I would never do this in Dynasty. I'm not taking AJ Brown over Javonte Williams in Dynasty. I know a lot of people are screaming, oh my God, the running backs are great values. The running backs are great values. You saw what happened in the last draft. You get boxed out of the wide receiver position, you're in a very difficult spot. And more importantly, we are actually going to be able to go through and get the players that we were looking for at the beginning of the 5th round. That's where we're looking for some running backs. Okay, so Jacob says, would you trade Jalen Waddle for Cooper Kupp? I really think that does come down to your roster. Obviously, if you're a rebuilding team, it's a lot harder. If you're a contender, yes, you're going to go through and you're going to grab Kupp. But this is what makes Dynasty great. Like, legitimately, a regular 2022 just redraft league, like if it's best ball, it's great because you can go through and draft a million of these. Very fun. But a regular weekly managed league, in my opinion, is simply not exciting. And the reason for this, actually, I may reach, and I know so many people are going to hate me for doing this, but they just, we're going to do what we're comfortable with. Okay. But what makes Dynasty great is you can make a trade that helps both parties. What makes redraft horrible, like if you're just getting into a league that's like The League, the TV show, like you're just playing with your 12-team friends for this upcoming season, very rarely could you ever make a trade that makes sense for both parties. Very rarely would that ever happen. And the reason for this is because everybody has the same objective. Score as many points right now as possible. Now, yes, you can go through and you can trade a wide receiver for a tight end. You could go trade running back for a quarterback. But in Dynasty, everybody's timeline is different. Your league mates John's timeline may be, okay, I need to make sure that this starting lineup is getting the maximum production it can have in 2024, in 2023. Whereas you may, on this hand, may need to go and get Cooper Kupp for your championship push. So I can't really answer, oh, do you prefer Waddle or Kupp? Because it does come down to your construction. It does come down to your team. I think you could have the answer go either wide receiver, depending on the situation you were in. And that's why everybody here loves Dynasty Fantasy Football so much. At least that's why I love Dynasty Fantasy Football. And really quick, we just passed 200 likes on the live stream. Of course, thank you so much for everybody coming out and supporting. I do appreciate it. And Pasha coming out, thank you, my man. Says, I have Joey B, Kyler Murray, Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, the 104, 110, 111, 204, 12-team Superflex, start 10, half PPR, not tight end premium. Do I spray and pray or buy with my picks? Okay, so we have the elite level quarterbacks as is. We don't really have to worry. You are great. You have no team needs. I would be interested if we could take a few of these picks, if we could package up for studs, but really the only way I'd be looking to do that is if we could take in Elijah Moore and say the 110, the 111, and we could go out of our way and we could potentially pay up to get someone like Jalen Waddle. I think that would be very interesting, even though I know some people would argue against that. I'm just very off on Zach Wilson and the receivers there, even though I love them as talents. But if not, how I would break it down, 104, I probably would be targeting either Treylon Burks or Drake London if somehow he makes it there. Somehow he makes it there. But I would be going wide receiver at the 110. I think you're just going to be taking your highest graded receiver, whether that's Sky Moore, probably not going to make it, but you could end up getting Christian Watson falling there at the 110. And the 111, I would also be sticking with the wide receiver room. I probably would be going someone like Jahan Dotson. The 204, if you could get George Pickens falling, I would be willing to just go receiver, 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 all 4 picks and just let the value accrue. Okay. Mike says, thoughts on a 3rd round startup reversal for a Dynasty Superflex league? Completely fine with it. I mean, if you want to go through and if you want to run your league that way, who's to stop you? I don't want to act like it's significantly fair because, I mean, you are going to get that. I think a 3rd round reversal would make sense if you were trying to balance it out for the unfair advantage that you get by having the 101 and getting Josh Allen, by having the 102 and getting Mahomes, by having the 103 and getting Justin Herbert. If you were wanting to balance out that advantage, I think a 3rd round reversal would be very interesting in that you go through the first, go through the second, reverse in the third, but instead of giving the 101 team the 401, going right back to the other end of the draft and then starting it there again. I think that would be interesting. Obviously, Sleeper doesn't have it set up that way, so nobody really does it that way. But I know everybody does a 3rd round reversal to quote-unquote balance the competitive edge. I'm unsure it does as good of a job as most people assume it. It does. Okay, so let's pull this up. We went Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen through the first 3 rounds. Zeke goes here. Okay. Yeah, we have a super easy pick. We are going to go Justin Herbert. We took Keenan Allen, so we are going to get the natural stack. Now, it's not going to be that unique of a combination because here, as you can see, this is where his ADP is. So it's not like we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to be one of the only teams in this contest with Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. No, that's not the case. I wish it was. Okay, Cortland Sutton at the 412. Oh, every time I see Sutton over Jerry Jeudy, it pains me physically. I feel ill when I see that. We are going to go David Montgomery. This is why we go through, and this is why we pass on the Nick Chubb in the second round for Keenan Allen. So I think there's a larger gap between Keenan Allen and Jerry Jeudy than there's going to be between David Montgomery and Nick Chubb. So we're going to go David Montgomery. Would have liked to see Ezekiel Elliott, Breece Hall fall to us, but sometimes it's not going to happen. Okay, so now our next one. Eric says, got Deshaun Watson, a future second, a 2024 first, third, for Derrick Henry, George Kittle, Adam Thielen on a rebuilding team, 12-team Superflex. Great trade. Rebuilding roster, getting Watson. Next offseason, Watson could easily be a top 5 pick in startups. I'm pretty much taking him there as is. Like, if you look across the entire landscape of the NFL over the past 5 to 6 seasons, you know how many quarterbacks have outscored Deshaun Watson on a points per game basis? I want to say none. Maybe Mahomes. Maybe. Deshaun Watson is legitimately neck and neck with Mahomes. Like, his career average points per game, way higher than Josh Allen, way higher than Justin Herbert. Still incredibly young, going to arguably, I hate to say it, maybe a better situation given the offensive line. Keep in mind, he played in Houston throughout his entire NFL career, putting up those statistics. Getting the first on top of it just makes it a really no-brainer. Okay, so Marcus coming out says, traded away Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and a 2023 third, acquired Jonathan Taylor, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Nyheim Hines, and a future first. Did I make the right move? Okay, trading away Dalvin, Derrick Henry for... Yes, you made the right move, 100%. Because some people may argue that in a 10-team Superflex format, so keep in mind, a 10-team league, you're not going to be looking at those 111, 112. You're going to have a better pick on average, and it's Superflex, so you're still going to get Bryce Young and CJ Stroud pushing that value down the draft board. So if that's going to be the case, that 2023 first is very valuable. Some people would argue that the 2023 first and potentially Miles Sanders is worth more than Dalvin Cook. I think we could hear those arguments in the chat. And then if you're asking me, do we want Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry, Alexander Madison in a third? Hell yes. Let's get the Jonathan Taylor side. Fantastic trade there. Okay. So Durko says, you just answered my question without answering my question. Okay. Happy I was able to. That's why these live streams are so informative, because I'm able to go through and I'm able to answer others' questions. And hell, everybody is playing the same NFL. Everybody's playing the same Dynasty. So it does have a lot of overlap. And real quick, if you want to get in one of these drafts with us, I know we say this all the time, but nothing supports this channel more. And I really don't think I've ever heard any negative feedback. I hear every single day, thank you, Mason, for telling me to sign up to Underdog Fantasy and begging me to do it, so I did. Go sign up to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar to 100. You will also get our 2022 rankings, our Dynasty rankings, our rookie rankings, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, over 130 pages. You can find the link in the description, find it in the comment section. We do these all the time. You can draft with us. You can draft in the public lobby. You can draft against your friends. Most importantly, have some goddamn fun. Come on. Okay, so yeah, this is why we went through. We took David Montgomery instead of Chris Godwin last round. When you're drafting at the 6-7 turn, it's always wide receivers that you're going to be staring at here. Okay. So Dane says, okay, so Dominic says, best strategy to trade for 2023 first-round picks. This is a very good question. And I honestly think the best way to go about it is, I answered a question earlier today. Someone asked, would we prefer Justin Jefferson or T. Higgins in a 2023 first? My answer to that was Higgins in the 2023 first, based on what you would eventually be looking at with the flexibility that that first round pick gives you during the season. I would love to go the other way on that. I would love to take one of those elite level wide receivers that we have, take a Justin Jefferson, take a Jamar Chase, and move them one tier down and potentially pick up a 2023 first round pick on top of it. That's what I love to do, because if you look at the difference in points per game that those wide receivers are going to provide for you, it's not massive. And that first round pick is going to give you so much flexibility during the season. Okay, so thank God this team goes through and takes Russell Wilson. That's good for us. I guess we're probably just going to continue to snag these wide receivers. Maybe we will. I haven't been taking a lot of A.J. Dillon here, if we're going to be honest. We're just going to continue to grab wide receivers. I know people probably aren't going to like to see this. If you're not familiar with Underdog, just let's see how it plays out. Let's see how it plays out. So we're going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown as our wide receiver 5 here. Okay, so let's slide this up. Brian says, a long-time watcher, but always miss your live streams. My question, in a Superflex 12-team league, I am in win now mode. I have Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, and drafted Sky Moore. Should I be looking at trading to get Marquez Valdez-Scantling to monopolize that core? I like the idea, but the issue is Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to be significantly better in best ball. Like in a format like this, hell yeah, you love Marquez Valdez-Scantling. With Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's going to have a very high average depth of target. That's going to provide volatility. That's going to provide, more importantly, spike weeks, especially with a very efficient passing offense. You said you have Mahomes. The issue is going to be coming down to actually knowing when those spike weeks are going to be. So is it actually going to help you if you bring in a Marquez Valdez-Scantling and have no idea when to put him in your starting lineup? I don't necessarily know. I would say if it's a traditional, you submit your starting lineup Dynasty League, which I'm assuming it is, I probably want it. And Larry coming out says, thoughts on Breece Hall, Najee Harris, and Travis Etienne as a running back core? Fantastic. Breece Hall, Najee Harris, top 5 running backs in Dynasty. Travis Etienne, you can make an argument that he's a high-end running back too, all in their rookie contracts. I mean, that's the perfect Dynasty running back core. Okay, so I'm Groot says, should I be panicking with Antonio Gibson in Dynasty? Gibson's falling a lot, and I think that there is a good reason for it. You obviously hear the coaching staff coming out and saying, oh yeah, we're going to ride the hot hand. We're probably going to vary Antonio Gibson's touches on a week-to-week basis. I don't care what the coaching staff's saying. We talk about this all the time. I care about actions. This is why we weren't telling everyone, oh yeah, no, Russell Wilson's, he's going to stay in Seattle, because coaching staffs, they lie. But when a coaching staff and a front office go out there and they give J.D. McKissic $3 million, when they go and they draft Brian Robinson with pick 98, yeah, that's when I get a little concerned. That's where I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe there is something to this Antonio Gibson, just, I don't want to say hype train, maybe fear train. And y'all know, historically, I've loved Antonio Gibson. Nobody was higher on Antonio Gibson as a rookie than I was. Okay. Dane says, just traded Jimmy Garoppolo and Alvin Kamara for Devontae Smith and a 2023 first, early to mid. My man, I don't care if you think it's early. I don't care if you think it's mid. I don't care if you think it's late. I'm reading it as a 2023 first. Please do not try to project those picks out. But going back to this, traded Jimmy G and Kamara for Devontae Smith in a first. I'm fine with it. Jimmy G, especially in a 10-team Superflex format, Jimmy G has absolutely no value whatsoever. Even if he does get traded over to Seattle, you're never going to start him in a 10-team Superflex league. So essentially just traded Kamara for Devontae Smith and a 2023 first. And in a 10-team Superflex format where you will get CJ Stroud, you will get Bryce Young pushing values down. Just think through this. In a 10-team league, when you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, Bijan Robinson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, that top tier is 40%. 40% of the first round. It's almost a coin flip. If you're going to get one of those players and you're essentially trading Kamara for one of those guys, at least a coin flip at getting one of those guys, and on top of it, Devontae Smith. Great move. Okay, so let's slide this down. Chris Baggs is always out there in these drafts with us. Love what he's doing here. He goes and gets Gabriel Davis to pair up with the Cincinnati boys. They actually have the same week 17 matchup. Most people in these drafts, just to let y'all know, and you should probably be doing the same thing. I'm not doing it right now because I'm reading this live chat, so it's very difficult. But most people are going through and trying to get week 17 stacks because it's so damn important if you make it to the playoffs at the end to kind of treat it like a DFS league, to treat it like a DFS tournament where you need to make sure that you have the correlation for week 17 to potentially have the highest ceiling possible. Okay. Chris Olave goes, ooh, we may take Cooper. Okay, so they took Russell Wilson. They don't have a Los Angeles Rams wide receiver, so I guess they're not going to take Stafford. We would take Stafford here. Stafford makes it to us. Tony Pollard goes, I really wanted Tony Pollard. They can't take both running backs. Yeah, we're not going to roll the dice. We'll just take Stafford because we do have Cooper Kupp. We want that stack. We're done drafting quarterbacks. If he drafts both running backs, then we're screwed. So be it. He can draft 5 running backs before his 4th wide receiver. It ain't happening. He is an experienced drafter based on this badge. So we're just going to get one of Damien Harris or Kareem Hunt. But what I'm going to ask from y'all right now is spam the chat. Spam the chat. Do you want Damien Harris or Kareem Hunt? And he just took Rodgers. So I think we made the right call. Yeah, we made the right call in taking Stafford. Spam the chat. Do you want Damien Harris or Kareem Hunt? I'm listening to y'all. Henry says, last year I made it to the final 12 of an FFB. Oh my God. That is awesome, my man. That is awesome. Okay. Harris, Hunt. Okay, it looks like most people are saying Hunt. Y'all know I like Hunt. Y'all know I prefer Hunt. I think Hunt does have a higher ceiling than Harris, so we will go ahead and take him here. And now our roster construction, I can almost guarantee you, is probably going to be 2 quarterbacks, 5 to 6 running backs. We're going to have to wait on that one. We are going to have to take 3 tight ends here. So if we have to take 3 tight ends, we probably want to cap out at 5 running backs. The issue is we're so dead at running back if we take 5. Okay, so Aiden says, I traded Leonard Fournette and Rondale Moore for Cam Akers. What are your thoughts? Really like it. Rondale Moore at this point is, I don't want to say nothing, but he's closing in on it. He is closing in on it. Okay, so Jack says, I have 8 of the 12 2023 first in my league. Should I keep trying to acquire more, or is it overkill at this point? I don't want to say it's overkill. I would say don't go out there and overpay just for the sake of having all of them. I've seen people get carried away and have legitimately 10 of the 12 first-round picks in that league. And at that point, it turns into a game for them. They're like, oh my God, how do I get these last 2? I want to be able to go through and tell everybody that I know that I have all 12 picks in this rookie class. And then you will see some ridiculous trades for them. If you can continue to collect them at value, do it. If you can continue to collect them at value, I'm going to do it, especially because I'm assuming if you have 8 of them, unless you have the best dynasty team to ever see the face of this earth, you're definitely a rebuilding team with long-term aspirations. So yeah, if you're a productive struggle team, go through, collect as many as you can at value, but don't do it just because it's a game. Henry says, Underdog told me I only have to rank 1 player, then I can draft using ADP. Okay, that's very interesting. I wonder why Ohio has it that way. If y'all don't know, Underdog, it's not like my bookie or anything. No, it's 100% regulated. That's why you can't do Underdog fantasy in some states. I think you can't do it in Ontario. You can do it everywhere else. In Canada, though, and let me look up Underdog fantasy states you can't. Like, you can do it in states you can sports bet. Like, I live in Florida. We can't sports bet. We can do Underdog fantasy. Same thing with Texas. Okay. Underdog, you cannot do Underdog in Connecticut, Hawaii, Idaho, Nevada, Louisiana, Montana, Washington, Delaware, and Iowa. And I think they actually just added Michigan to that list. I think Michigan just pulled out of everything in this space. Okay, so Bex is Elijah Moore, Pat Freiermuth in the tight end premium format, 2 points per reception. Okay, once you start to get to 2 points per reception, I would actually then be willing to bump up the value of those tight ends, specifically because I'd imagine that that's going to affect the overall dynasty trade market in that particular league, where it will be dramatically harder to go through and be able to acquire tight ends at any kind of value. So yes, I would be willing to cash out and go get Pat Freiermuth, even though I'm not a massive Freiermuth fan. And holy crap, Damien Harris falls to pick 111. Starting at around pick 92, I believe Damien Harris was the highest graded player according to ADP. That is crazy. That's crazy. We almost took Damien Harris, and y'all told me to take Kareem Hunt instead. Okay, so Eric says, I also traded Cooper Kupp in a late second for Garrett Wilson in a future first. Same rebuilding roster as the Deshaun Watson trade. That deal I don't like as much, but I still think it's fine. Nick coming out says, in a Superflex 12-team league, I just traded Christian McCaffrey for A.J. Dillon and Chris Olave. Did I make a mistake? Yes. You made a mistake. Like, obviously, if CMC goes down, then you're going to be looking good, but that's a tough bet. Let's see. We do need to draft 3 tight ends in this league, as I said, unless we possibly take Freiermuth and Gesicki. Gesicki's gone. Could we get away with Freiermuth and Gronk and be done? And then draft 6 RBs? I want to take Jameson Williams, but I feel like I'm just getting cute with it. Jameson Williams goes anyway. I'm going to take Freiermuth here. I'm not a big fan of Freiermuth. I think, though, if we take one of these tight ends and then get another one on the way back around, we could potentially be done at the position. And if we're looking at like Rashad Penny versus Ramondre Stevenson, there's not a big gap between them for me. The team picking at the 10-12 and the 11-01 doesn't have a tight end. They have 3 running backs. So we'll go Freiermuth, and then the ball's in their court. We'll see what they do. They go Hardman. Sorry, I'm not answering questions right now. Just trying to think. And Albert O. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and reach on a tight end. I'm going to reach on Rob Gronkowski. The reason for this is I think if I don't take another tight end in this range, we are not going to get one falling back to us, because earlier in this draft, I noted that you actually had the same team taking both George Kittle and Darren Waller. So that will play a little bit into the supply and demand. So if we take both of these tight ends, I think we could potentially be done at 2 of them, unless we get a massive value, but I'm not expecting that to happen. And we can go through and we can build around 2, 6, 8, 2, which is honestly how I've been crushing. Usually I'm going to go 0 RB, and I'm building around 2, 6, 8, 2. Here we took David Montgomery, so it's not technically 0 RB. We took a running back in the 5th, but it is what it is. And Ian coming out says, A-Rob and Aaron Rodgers for a 2023 first. What do you think? Superflex. No, you got to keep Aaron Rodgers. Keep Aaron Rodgers and Allen Robinson. I think you are going to be able to get more somewhere down the line. And Dylan says, just traded CMC and a 2024 second round pick for Breece Hall and a future first. Thoughts? 10-team Superflex. Great deal. Great deal. I mean, I prefer Breece Hall over Christian McCaffrey straight up. So yeah, I mean, if you're swapping a second for a first on top of it, of course I'm going to love that. And Elijah coming out says, do you think Miles Sanders has any chance to be a top 12 dynasty running back moving forward in a PPR setting for the next 3 to 4 years? I have him and J.K. Dobbins. I think they're 2 separate questions. I think that with Miles Sanders, he could, not likely, but it's in the range of outcomes. He could be a top 12 running back on a points per game basis this upcoming season and next. Now, it doesn't matter if that happens, because with the stain that's been left with Miles Sanders, with what we've seen overall in just his career arc, you are never going to get a player that's fallen as far as Miles Sanders in dynasty drafts. I don't want to use the word never, because there's always an exception, but very rarely does it ever happen. You're never going to get him coming back to being a top 12 running back with ADP in dynasty. Now, what I would bring up with Miles Sanders is if you pull up the Eagles box scores from last year, it is laughable how unlucky Miles Sanders got. This was a running back that led this backfield in touches. I mean, if we go through, well, technically, yes, Jalen Hurts led them in carries. You had Miles Sanders, 137 carries, leading the backfield in that, right? And he came away with 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns for Miles Sanders. 0 touchdowns receiving, 0 touchdowns rushing, with 163 touches. The next best running back on the team, Kenneth Gainwell, 101 touches. he had 6 touchdowns. The running back afterwards in touches, Boston Scott, at 100, had 7 touchdowns. Then you had Jordan Howard with 88 touches, who had 3 touchdowns. So if my math is correct, that's 16 touchdowns. 16 touchdowns for running backs that weren't Miles Sanders last season. So if you think that the touches are more consolidated to Miles Sanders and that it was just injuries holding him back last season, then I think he could be a top 12 running back on a points per game basis. Now, I don't think he's ever going to get there with his Dynasty ADP, but like I said, I think those are 2 separate questions. Okay, so let's pull this up, see where we're going to go. Mike takes Van Jefferson as his wide receiver 7, loading up on receivers. I thought we were heavy with a receiver. We have 5 of them. Okay, so since we have Irv Smith Jr. making it back to us, y'all know I love me some Irv Smith Jr. Not feeling great about our Rob Gronkowski pick. Let me go through and see who we passed up on. We passed up on Madison, Penny, Stevenson. Jarvis Landry goes right there. Okay, so we're going to get some great running backs. We're getting Rashad White. We're going to get 2 of Rashad White, Isaiah Spiller, Michael Carter in this range. Yeah, we were screaming how bad Michael Carter was a pick earlier this year, but come on. He wasn't going in the 13th round. He was going before Tony Pollard and Alexander Madison, even after Breece Hall was drafted, which was ludicrous. Said it was ludicrous. It's been fixed. So I can draft Michael Carter here with ease. So we're going to take Rashad White at the 12-11. We're going to take whoever. Actually, I'm so dumb. This is why I shouldn't be drafting and answering questions at the same time. We should have taken Isaiah Spiller here. He goes Irv Smith Jr. Thank the Lord. We have Justin Herbert. We should have gone Isaiah Spiller. Aaron says, being offered Kenny Pickett, 2 2023 first, a 2024 first, and a 2025 first for Justin Herbert. I'm assuming you're playing in a Dynasty league that is new. I'm assuming that the majority of people that you're playing with haven't played Dynasty fantasy football before, because you never, and I repeat, ever in a million years, if you assume Kenny Pickett's worth a first-round pick, say Kenny Pickett's worth the 2023 first, I probably prefer the pick, but it is what it is. That's the equivalent of trading 5 first-round picks. You never trade 5 first-round picks in a Superflex format for any individual player. Just based on how you can go through and you can work the deals yourself, it never makes sense. And by the way, just for anybody wanting to get in drafts on Underdog, this is why I am always taking receivers early, is because I think zero running back is such a fine strategy when you're taking Rashad White, Isaiah Spiller. Like here in this draft, you have DJ Chark and KJ Osborne going before Michael Carter. Like the zero running back targets, in my opinion, are massive values. I'm willing to reach on wide receiver early so I don't have to reach on them late, and instead we can soak up these running backs. Okay. So Dominic says, rate my young startup team. It's a Superflex 10-team format. We got Herbert at quarterback, Barkley running back, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Sky Moore, Michael Pittman, John Mechie, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz, Davis Mills, and 2 2023 first. Any improvements I can make for my rebuild? I am honestly not too excited about this team. In a 12-team league, it'd be great. 10-team league, we have to raise our expectations just slightly. What I would personally look to do is I would go through and I would like to trade away Michael Pittman. Now, I hate to say this, because if you look at drafts today, like on Underdog, where I want to say the smartest drafters are on Underdog. Like if we're going to be 100% honest, like it's tough to win on Underdog. These people, this ADP is sharp. People are taking Michael Pittman over Jalen Waddle. Over Jalen Waddle. Let's compare their respective rookie seasons. Jalen Waddle was an old rookie, but so was Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman Jr., like, if you look at what he did compared to Drake London at 18 years old, like it wasn't that impressive at USC his senior season. So let's read this off. Oh, this is going to make my day, because I don't know. There's always a player that somehow I turn into the hater of. I've been the hater of Courtland Sutton for God knows how long now, and it looks like I'm turning into the Michael Pittman Jr. hater. Because Jalen Waddle, his rookie season, of course you got Tyreek Hill coming over. You have Tyreek Hill coming over. Yes. But 140 targets, 104 receptions. Jalen Waddle is a rookie, 104 receptions, over 1,000 receiving yards. Michael Pittman Jr. is a rookie. 500 receiving yards, 40 receptions, 61 targets. You had a better season from Jalen Waddle as a rookie than Michael Pittman Jr. had as a sophomore. Yes, a lot of people are going to say, well, Michael Pittman Jr. has no target competition this season. He had no target competition last year either. If anything, is more this year. They go out there and they draft Alec Pierce. I'm not a big Alec Pierce fan, but I hate to go out there and just be the hater of that player for no reason, but I think that his valuation right now is a little ludicrous. Okay, so now let's go through, find our next one. PSLA Duck says, should I franchise tag in a Dynasty 3-year designation, 10-team league, Trevor Lawrence or Christian McCaffrey? Oh my God. Oh, that's brutal. Having to commit to CMC for 3 years here. I'm going to go CMC. In a 10-team league, you're just shooting for raw upside. So maybe you have a higher floor overall with Trevor Lawrence. But no, we're shooting for someone that can actually break fantasy football, break our league. And here we're going to go James Robinson. Not too exciting. James Robinson, horrendous injury at the very end of the season. But I think it's fine value for getting him here at pick 167. And he'll probably go Keel Herbert and then be done at running back. Actually, oh my God, I need to stop drafting and answering these questions. Joshua Palmer goes right after. Joshua Palmer was 100% the selection for this team. We have Justin Herbert. We have Keenan Allen. We could have brought in the double stack. Oh, that's horrible. And Jameer White says, Sky Moore or Justin Ross? Oh, for the love of God. I loved Justin Ross before the NFL draft. I came out and I looked at Justin Ross and said, hell, he doubled the production that Hunter Renfrow has in that same offense. When Hunter Renfrow was a senior, Justin Ross was a freshman. Justin Ross had more receiving yards per game than T. Higgins. When T. Higgins was a sophomore in that offense, Justin Ross is a freshman. He has an elite ceiling. But what we said was, hell, we don't know what the injury. This was a very serious injury where we didn't know if Justin Ross was ever going to be able to play football again. So what we were going to have to do is we were going to have to wait until NFL talent evaluators, NFL team doctors and medical staffs could go and evaluate Justin Ross, and we would see what those reports were by his NFL draft capital. Does he go in the second round? Does he go in the third round? Does he go to the fourth round? Does he fall all the way to the fifth? Does he fall all the way to the sixth? The man went undrafted. Sky Moore checks every single box. Sky Moore went in the second round of the NFL draft. Please, please, please take Sky Moore here. Luke says we need some mods to mute the spammers. Okay, my man, Luke, I will make you a mod right now. Bam. And Zach, let me know if Zach's still in the chat. If he is, I will go through and make him a moderator as well. We have so many moderators for our other channel, but this one we don't live stream as often, at least not question and answer live streams. Okay, so let's go through. And Alex says, who falls at the 105 and the 108? I'd say the 105, you're most likely going to see Kenneth Walker actually already off the board. I personally have Kenneth Walker ranked as the 105. I'd prefer the elite level wide receivers over him. But what I would say, if we're projecting certain players to fall, you're most likely going to see a Treylon Burks at the 105 or a Garrett Wilson. Someone between those two wide receivers would be my selection. And then at the 108, I'm going to assume we have Jameson Williams be drafted either at 106, 107, depending on how your league values can pick it. So at the 108, you're going to be looking at either Chris Olave, Sky Moore, or Christian Watson. Going to be up to you. Please do not consider, please do not consider one of the running backs. Okay, so let's go through and try to find a next one. We have J.D. McKissick going at the 1509. And just in case you haven't heard me a million times, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Support this damn channel. You like the fact that we make videos every day? Come on. Come on. Do you want to have some fun and get in some drafts? And also, a lot of people have asked, okay, Mason, how do I get the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide? How do I get your rankings after I sign up for Underdog Fantasy? They send an automated email, an automated welcome email about an hour after you sign up. And if you used promo code FLOCK, they will include everything in the email. So just be on the lookout for it. It will come about an hour. And we also just got it set up to email you a second time if you don't open it the first time. So if you lose it, for whatever reason, it will email you the second time only if you did not open the original email the next day. So you're going to get the rankings, you're going to get the draft guide, you're going to get everything. Okay, so Noah Fant goes to the 1603. Yeah, I do not like what we did here. What we should have done, if we could go back into a time machine. Instead of taking Gronk here, I wanted to grab 2 tight ends, so we only had to take 2 total. We should have taken Alexander Madison. We should have taken Ramondre Stevenson. We should have gone running back here. And then what that would have allowed us to do is here in the 14th, we could have got Joshua Palmer to get the stack with Justin Herbert. And then instead of Keel Herbert, we could have gotten Tyler Higbee to get the stack with Matthew Stafford. So not a fan at all of how we approach this. Gerald Everett's here. Okay. Let's see. We would never take Gerald Everett with this pick. No, we need... I hate coming away with only 7 receivers. We have Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Elijah Moore, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. We'll go ahead and take Odell. Just looking for spike weeks in the fantasy football playoffs in that tournament setting. If we take Odell here, I think we may take Everett. Yeah. We're going to go Everett. Can we get away with only drafting 7 receivers? I think we can when we have Kupp, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Elijah, and Amon-Ra. So if we take Everett as well, he can slide into our flex spot in some of these weeks. And we have Herbert, so if we're ever going to take him on a team, this is it. And from here, we definitely need a wide receiver in our last round. Yeah, we didn't... I need 8 wide receivers in every single one of these drafts. I want 8 wide receivers in every single draft, even if we go early. Like here, our third running back, we took at pick 143, but still not comfortable enough with these wide receivers. We do have 3 elite ones. We have 3 elite ones. We have some depth behind. Okay, so what is... Okay. It looks like people are just spamming questions over and over again at this point. I think we're probably going to call a live stream here. We are going to do this very often. Y'all know on the main channel, we already do these drafts every single day. I will try to get as many Q&A sessions as I possibly can. We were live for almost 2 hours here. We are live for a little over an hour and a half. But thank you again. I appreciate all y'all. I'm disappointed in our drafting tonight. Tomorrow will be better. It was an off day. Okay. Usually we're trying to get 0 running back build, 2-6-8-2. 2-6-8-2, an elite quarterback, an elite tight end. Went a little off the rails. It is what it is. But thank you again. I appreciate all y'all. Hope you have a great day. And hope we get to see you with the live stream on the main channel tomorrow. Go use promo code FLOCK so you can get in the draft with us there.